Hi everyone, hypnotist Jessica L. Hansen. I'm just sitting outside having my morning tea and thinking about HypnoExpo 2024 Mind Magic. What a magical conference it was. Oh my gosh. Seeing people that I haven't seen in quite a few years, meeting my friends from Iceland, and having 3 amazing presentations that I got to do. We pretty much filled the room on 2 of those presentations. The other one was an additional topic that people had to pay to attend, and I was happy with the turnout on that one as well. So it was 3 amazing presentations. Pre-conference was really, really good. I sat in and kind of moonlighted or shadowed Roy Hunter pre-conference for the 2-day parts therapy, and he had 9 students, which was really good. He even commented that was the most students he has had in a long time, and he was really grateful for that. And then, well, I want to back up a little bit because there's some things that a lot of people don't know, and I feel like I can share this because I have permission to. So last year at HypnoExpo 2023, after the conference, I believe it was maybe Monday evening or Tuesday evening, Roy and I had supper together, and we sat, and this goofy thought, as often happens for me, popped into my head. And so I had to ask, because this had been a question on my mind ever since HypnoExpo was being held in Daytona Beach. And I originally took the parts therapy training from Roy at Daytona, and I always wanted to ask him a question, but at that point in my career, I felt too new and too just like, no. So I sat down, we had supper. I actually bought him supper because, if I'm going to sit down with someone like Roy, I'm going to buy his supper. So I did. We had a beautiful meal, just small chit chat. He's an amazing man to get to know. And his wife is a lovely lady as well, if you've never met her. But anyways, toward the end of the meal, I said, Roy, excuse me for being bold by asking this question, but who do you have to take your work forward? The work that you took over from Tibbetts, and who's going to take this work over? And tears came to this man's eyes, and I was like, oh no. And he proceeded to tell me the background to this question. And I began to understand the gravity of the situation. And still within me, from all these years from back in Daytona, I looked him in the eye and I held his hand and I said, Roy, would you even consider me? I said, I'm a woman. I'm in this field called hypnosis that's mostly male dominated in a lot of areas. Would you consider me? And he broke down and cried. And he immediately said yes. And I said, wait. You need to go back to your hotel room. You need to go home. You need to talk to your wife, your children. You need to take time. This is a big decision that this is a legacy that's going forward. I said, you need to think about this. And he said, no, I do not, because you are I believe it was the 7th or 9th person. I'd have to look back in the notes. But anyways, he said, no, I prayed and I said, God, you send me the person. Have the person ask me. He said, I am done asking people. I'm done. And we finished our meal, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what did I just get myself into? This is a huge commitment. I was totally assuming his answer would be no, and he would tell me who's taking it over. And so I was like, okay, great. And he said, no, I'm gonna, tomorrow, he had an extra day after the conference, and he said, I'm going to write up the contract. And lo and behold, by the time my plane landed, I had an email in my inbox from Roy saying, here's our agreement. Here's, is this agreeable? And I looked it over, and to me it seemed very fair, and it still does seem fair to this day, our agreement. And so we've had this agreement in place for about a year. Excuse me, the sun is moving. Yeah. We've had this agreement in place since the end of the conference last year. And it was really interesting being there this year. Before the conference, I had this feeling that I needed to be ready. And be ready for what? I didn't know, but I had all of the stuff on my computer that I needed and more. And I was going to be in Monica Gear's class pre-conference, and I emailed her and I said, hey, Monica, I got to bow out on you. I need to be in Roy's class. And she's one of those cool hypnotists. You get to know her. She knows that you know what you know and you need to be there. So she said, yeah, do what you got to do. I'll miss you. And pre-conference, sitting through Roy's class, kind of just hanging out, just helping manage the classroom for him. He was super happy with 9 students, but something was different. And, but and I didn't really know what or why. I knew he was very stressed. There was a lot going on, and he loves his wife dearly, and she's still at home. So who wouldn't feel a little stressed, right? I know I was stressed when my first husband was sick and stuff. So, but then Friday morning, walking into the exhibitor area and just seeing Roy not well. He was very, very white and just not well. That was, reality started to set in as to why I felt like I had to be ready. And then, of course, the paramedics came and everyone was so supportive of him. And one of the staff rode with to the hospital, and all the positive supportive things that should happen, for in this hypnosis community. So I'm very proud to be a member of IM, DHA, and IACT. Just the way they always handle everything. It's just with tact and with poise and with grace and honor and respect. They did an excellent job. And then standing in the back of the room, I commonly at the conference help out Ed Horn, the guy who does all the video stuff for IMDHA and IACT conferences. And I was on the camera recording Karen Hand doing the opening remarks on Friday, and she stood up in the front of the room and she just started talking about, the irony of how Roy took over. And I actually have it this is one of the old versions of the book, but The Art of Hypnosis. Roy actually talks about that happening. In this particular version of the book, it's in page 4 of The Art of Hypnosis. He's talking about Tebbets was presenting the parts therapy workshop, and he had suffered a heart attack. And Tebbets asked Roy to step in on his behalf. And I believe the story goes that Tebbets' wife was in the back of the room as well. And sadly for Roy, I understand this now. Sadly for Roy, while Roy was teaching, Tebbets passed away. And that's really sad. Now, the good thing is, Roy Hunter is still with us. He is doing as well as a man can do, who had a little health issue. And I have great hopes for his recovery. So that's not for me to expound on anymore. That's between him and his family to express. But I just feel like, and then I'll back up. So that was Roy's experience of stepping into the taking over for Tebbets. And I'm standing in the back of the room behind the camera and listening to Karen Hand recall this story in front of all of these hypnotists. And I felt very small in that moment, very, very small, because I realized with Karen's comment at the end, she said, and I don't know that Roy has anyone to take his work forward. And I felt very small, and inside of me I wanted to say something in that moment, but I knew it wasn't the right time. So I was very silent and very small in the back of the room, watching through the camera, watching this all. So the observer position, watching this all happen and unfold. And I realized the weight of what I had committed to a year prior. And it felt like I was putting on big shoes, and it felt like I was putting on a big suit coat, and just, you know how little kids play dress up and nothing fits, but they put it on. I felt like that's what was happening to me in that moment. And nobody knew. And it was the best way it could have happened, actually. And so then what happened after that is I waited a few moments, and after people had cleared the room, and I talked to Linda Otto, and I said, hey, I'm able to teach on Monday and Tuesday post-conference for Roy if he's not able to come back. She looked at me with this completely blank question mark face, and okay. And I said, and I let her know, I said, yeah, a year ago after this conference, Roy and I signed an agreement, and I sent that agreement to her, and by Saturday afternoon, my name was on the list, and I got tears in my eyes. I took a photo of it, and if I was really good at editing photo stuff, I would put pictures of all the amazing hypnotists that I met at the conference. I would be putting them up in the little corner so you guys could see them, but I'm not that techie, and so you just have to listen to my story. But it was a very humbling and real moment. It's one of those moments in life when you're fully present. Standing there looking at the registration table and seeing my name being pasted over Roy's name and taking over those 2 days post-conference. I knew I had a lot to do. And I knew that to do it right, it needed to be done a certain way. And I didn't have access to everything that I needed, so I made some things up to in place of those items that I didn't have access to, and the class went beautifully. But I emailed each and every student. It even turns out that at the banquet on Saturday night, I sat next to a girl who I hadn't met before, and we were talking at the end of the banquet, and I asked how long she was staying, and she said, oh, I'm staying after the conference. I'm taking Roy's parts class and train the trainer. And she said, but I don't know who's teaching it yet, but I'm sure IACT and IMDHA have something figured out. And I looked at her and I said, well, you're talking to your teacher. And her face lit up in the most beautiful way. And in that moment, I knew that I could do it, and I knew that I would be accepted. And I emailed the other 3 students that I knew were going to be taking the class, and I got back, yes, we accept you as our teacher. We gladly accept. So that was just, it made me feel better and better about doing this, because pre-conference, sitting in Roy's class at the end of the parts therapy training, Roy always does a group spiritual hypnosis session if the group desires, and they did, and I was sitting in the back following along, and my question was, will I be accepted as Roy's protege to take over like he did from Tebbets? Will I be accepted because I am a female, because I am a little younger in the industry, because I don't have a fascinating lineage, I don't have credentials behind my name? Will I be accepted? That was my question. And that lovely, still, small voice came back, and it said, in time, just be patient. In time, people will come to know that Roy made a good decision. And that was very humbling, and it started to become reality for me when the gal, I won't name names, looked at me and said, oh, I'm so happy that you're my teacher. It was just the most amazing feeling in the world at that moment. for me. So needless to say, I taught my first Train the Trainer. I was the trainer of Train the Trainer for parts therapy for students. At least 2, if not 3 of them are international. So my first international students, I'm so proud of them. They are beautiful people and they are going to do a wonderful job teaching parts therapy to their students as well. I received an honorary title from the one student from India. We had a joke going on, and in India, guru is a term of respect. And he said, well, you're my guru shishya. And guru shishya means one who is married, a teacher who is married and is humble and kind. So that's really cool. So I'm now honorarily called guru shishya in the mind of at least one of my students. But overall, an amazing conference. And I just felt like I needed to sit down and take some time and just put this into my own words, because it was a lot. It was fast and furious, as ever conferences are. Really, really fun. My roommates were amazing. It was just a great conference. And then coming home, jumping right back into teaching and volunteering and everything that I do here, I just really hadn't had time to just sit down and unpack all of this. And I'm just so happy that I did not win an award this year, because I was not ready for that ride again. And I'm okay with that. I'm actually okay if I never win another award in my life, because man, it's just damn shocking when it happens. And so totally over that. And I'm just looking forward to next year and what next year brings. As far as I know, Roy is doing well. He's recovering. I'm in touch with his daughter and in touch with IACT IMDHA as well to see what happens, how things play out. It's nice to step into my new role slowly, and not have to do it instantly, which I'm super grateful for. It's also like, I told my husband and a couple other people, I said, I can handle like the health issue that Roy has. Like, I'm so glad he didn't have a major heart attack and pass, because that would be a terrible way to pass this lineage forward. Like, I don't want to die of a major heart attack when I pass this forward. I would rather that when it comes time for me to pass parts therapy on to a new teacher in this lineage, this heritage, that I get to be the one to stand on a stage and publicly acknowledge this person. And I think that would be the most beautiful way to do it going forward. So that is my hope. So I'm working on staying healthy, so that years from now, when I am probably too old to be teaching, because I do plan to teach hypnosis and do hypnosis for the rest of my life. I hope that when it comes time for me to hand this parts therapy over to someone else to teach and to carry forward, that I get to stand there and proudly present them to the hypnosis world and community. But yeah, so that's just my thoughts about HypnoExpo 2024, the events that unfolded. Beautiful people, lovely organizations. Thank you, Robert and Linda, and all of the staff, especially Ashley back at the office, for all that you guys do. It is not easy to put on a conference. And again, I know this is the old version, but the Art of Hypnosis, this is big shoes, guys. And I didn't realize how big of shoes I was stepping into, but thankfully I get to step into these shoes slowly, which is, I'm glad I get to grow into them. But it was a very humbling and honoring experience to be able to do that. And I'm so glad that I asked that question. So if you're ever in doubt of when to ask a question to someone, I would say ask, because you just never know. I could ramble on and be more and cry some more tears, but I want to leave this a happy video. So we will talk soon.